Wuthering Waves is giving all players a 5-star character selector right off the bat, on top of all of the free summons that we're getting as compensation for all of the problems the game has had at launch. And so deciding which 5-star character to pick from the list is going to be very important for your account, and the answer is going to differ on quite a few factors actually. And so in today's video I want to share with you my thoughts on which characters you should choose from the perspective of someone that has put a lot of time in the game, not only in the live version of Wuthering Waves but also in the closed beta test. Now these news come from the official Wuthering Waves website, where they have a lengthy post where they talk about some of the new things coming into the game, some additional quality of life that they are going to be implementing to further improve the game, and some other things that I want to go over. But firstly I want to go over which 5-star characters you should prioritize getting. So which ones would be the most beneficial to your account, because the answer may differ depending on your own account. I've put a lot of time in the game since it released, but also in the second closed beta test, and so without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So the first character is Jianxin. You actually get to play her in the story very early on, so you get a feeling for how she actually plays. She's got this martial artist monk playstyle that is a lot of fun, very rapid strikes, and she is also able to generate shields for the entire party, which is very valuable. And I believe that as a character, Jianxin is actually being slept on quite a lot, because admittedly in the closed beta test she wasn't all that powerful. It seems as though she has been buffed in the live version of the game, so she may actually warrant your attention. Now it's also important to take into account different copies of each character. If for any reason you happen to be lucky or you have rerolled your account and you already have one of these 5 stars, and so maybe going after a dupe is actually a good thing. Well, in the case of Jianxin, if you were to get a dupe, you would essentially be getting 100% extra chi from her basic attacks for 10 seconds after using her intro skill. So if you plan on using Jianxin as a damage dealer, having one duplicate offer would actually be very beneficial, as your damage output within those 10 seconds, as you would be able to raise your damage output within those 10 seconds. Still, I do believe that there are better damage dealers in the game, both in the form of 4 stars and 5 stars, so I am not particularly fond of going after Jianxin as your 5-star character from the selector. And of course, up next we have Calcharo the Phantom Hunter. I happened to get very lucky and I got him very early on in my account, and I absolutely love him. Using a broad blade, he's able to dish out a lot of damage with his lightning fast combos that also make parrying the enemy very easy. He's able to deal a lot of damage with his skill, and as you level him up you'll be able to get some additional crit damage, some extra attack, and he will be able to output some crazy amount of damage. Now I don't believe that Calcharo might actually be the #1 DPS currently in the game, at least before we reach the endgame of Wuthering Waves. I do believe that Jian might actually be a better dedicated DPS, that is when compared to Calcharo, although Calcharo's damage output is still crazy good. Now that being said, the next limited 5-star character after the Jian banner ends is going to be Yinlin, which is another electro unit that uses a rectifier that is going to be more of a support type character that deals a lot of damage as well, but is all about helping electro characters deal more damage. And combining Calcharo with Yinlin is going to allow you to deal some crazy damage output, and so in my opinion, if you don't have Jian yet in your account, I would recommend you to save up all of your limited asteroids and use the 5-star selector for Calcharo. And when the Yinlin banner comes around, you actually try to summon for her, and you're going to end up with an incredibly powerful DPS duo. So again, if you don't have Jian, Calcharo would be my #1 recommendation. Now the next character is going to be Verina. She is a spectral unit that uses a rectifier, and she is essentially just a support character that is all about providing shields and healing your allies, while also allowing her allies to deal even more damage. And the thing about Verina is that currently in Wuthering Waves, the amount of characters that can heal are actually quite limited, and so with Verina you would be able to fix the healing problem very easily by having a character that is specialized on healing and providing shields to your allies. And if the closed beta test #2 was any indication, having such a character is going to be very important, especially when you reach the endgame. Now when I thoroughly analyze Verina's kit, I see some things that could easily be power crept by an additional support that comes along the way in a a future update. That of course can still be the same thing for DPS, but in the case of supports, I really do believe that having a powerful one right at the start is going to be very impactful for your account, especially because these support characters tend to already provide a lot of value to your party without you actually having to invest a ton of resources into them. And because we're still in the very first few days of Wuthering Waves, where a lot of people don't have a ton of resources, having a character that you can barely put any work into and they're still going to carry you through a lot of content is simply a huge benefit. And so if, like myself, you have been putting off leveling Baiji, I do believe that going with Verina is more likely than not going to be the #1 option. Now the next character is going to be Lingyang, a glacial melee unit that is again all about going up close into the enemy's face and unleashing powerful combos. Now in the case of Lingyang, with his ultimate he's going to go up into the air and you're going to be able to juggle your enemies as you deal damage to them, while also being able to use that elevation to avoid incoming attacks. Lingyang has a very particular playstyle that I'm sure some people are not going to like, though personally I found him to be a very powerful character in the closed beta test, and if the damage calculations are any indication, Lingyang is actually a very powerful character. But again, his odd playstyle may be a turnoff for some players, and it may actually be detrimental in combat if you don't know how to use it well. He doesn't really provide any value for the rest of your party, he is essentially just a selfish DPS character, and all of the stat bonuses that he ends up getting come in the form of attack percentage or glacial damage percentage. Now this is not necessarily bad, and ideally by the time you reach the endgame, your preferred DPS would likely be focusing on increasing their crit damage, as you are going to try to raise their crit rate as much as possible. And sadly that's not the case for Lingyang, which is another point against picking him. So ultimately I don't find that picking up Lingyang is a good choice for any players that are looking for a powerful character, but of course if you like his design or personality or the way that he plays, do go ahead and select him. And the final character is going to be Encore, a fusion character that uses the rectifier, and surprisingly Encore seems to be the runner-up for the #1 DPS character in the game, so she is the one that gives Jianxin a run for his money, but I believe that if Jian doesn't have his signature weapon, Encore might actually be able to deal a lot more damage. Seriously, the damage output of this character is absolutely insane. Now her playstyle and combo cancels are a bit more complicated than you may expect, so it may take you a few minutes to get used to it, but by the time you get used to it, you will be rewarded with a very powerful character. She's also able to provide damage reduction to herself and the entire party, which is really powerful, so if you want a ranged DPS character that can output a lot of damage and also can provide good value to the entire party, then Encore is going to be the character for you. And these are my thoughts on the 5-star character selector. Personally, I'm going to go with Verina since I already have Calcharo, and I'm going to be saving up for the Yin Lim banner. And again, having a support like Verina is going to be very valuable for myself that has not invested in a single healer. And as for everything else that we're getting as a bonus for all of these compensations, and along with the bonus compensation of the 5-star character selector that we're getting, Wuthering Waves have also stated that they're going to be optimizing the skip function, and they're going to allow us to skip basically everything in the game, and that includes the prologue and chapter 1. I know a lot of players are not enjoying the game's story, especially those side quests that can be a bit bothersome, and so having a way to be able to skip them is going to be very nice. Though that being said, we already were able to skip a lot of dialogue in the game, they're just going to allow us to do that more often. They're also looking for ways to optimize the combat experience. Me personally, I do believe that the combat in Wuthering Waves is already fantastic, but if they are planning to improve it, hey, that's pretty fantastic. We already mentioned the 5-star character selector, which is going to arrive on your in-game mail on the 26th, so be on the lookout for that. And on top of that, they are looking to further optimize the game, which includes an optimization of the art assets of the game for certain NPCs, a new layered map display function, and more echo transformations. Honestly, I love the way that the developers have been so transparent with the community. That is something that I had already heard about Kuro Games from their previous works, and it's great to see a game that is competing with the largest gacha games that is giving us all of this compensation for all of their troubles. It's seriously fantastic to see it being addressed this way, and honestly I cannot wait for the way the developers are going to be adding updates to this game. I will be of course be working on more guides for you guys from all of my experience with the live game and the closed beta test, so if you are interested in that, please like and subscribe. So with that being said, my name is Hiroki, and thank you all so much for watching.